Okay, welcome to day 3 of Vibe Coding a software to $10,000 per month. We are going to be using CodeSpring to plan and design the entire software. And actually, in the video yesterday, we got quite far. We managed to get our first set of core features set up. So we cloned the CodeSpring boilerplate. We built a very basic dashboard. This is just temporary data for now, but what we really focused our time on was building this course builder where we could create a course, we could upload a course, and then we could create modules and lessons complete with a working database with various lessons and courses in here. All of it works with creating, reading, updating, deleting, and also we have the ability to change various settings and various other bits and pieces. So in this video, we're going to actually get started on what is possibly going to be the hardest feature of this app, which is going to be the multi-source video ingestion, transcription pipeline, and knowledge base indexing. If you guys have watched day 1 and day 2, you'll know what we're building, but essentially we're building a course knowledge base platform where we upload videos. We're going to start off with just doing Loom videos, and what we want to be able to do is create like a course, essentially kind of what we have here in CodeSpring, which is searchable, which we can then use the knowledge to create quick start guides or SOPs or various other bits and pieces. All of this hinges on whether we can actually get the transcript from a Loom video from when we actually create it. And we have, well, I've done a little bit of testing around and playing around in between these videos, just because, you know, development is an ongoing thing and I don't have time to film everything. But what I've been doing is sort of figuring out the best way to get the transcript. So I've got this Loom video, which is obviously one of these. I'm recording this on Loom here, which has obviously got the transcript. And I'm wondering whether we can actually extract this transcript here from the Loom video if I have a shareable Loom. So if I create a Loom video and I send the link, can I extract the transcript from it? And if I can, then we don't need to download it. We don't need to convert it into an MP4 file or anything like that. We did actually have a brief look at the API documentation, but they don't have the ability to pull the transcript from it. And I want to avoid doing any OAuth integrations or anything complex like that in API keys to be able to grab the transcript. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not going to lie, I did actually start filming this video earlier. We had a load of issues with the recording, and basically a lot of things went wrong with the recording. But what I did actually start doing was trying to design this and actually starting to try and plan out a good way of doing this. And the initial plan was to basically what CodeSpring initially planned was to basically get the URL, send it to Cloud Convert to convert it into an MP3 file, and then transcribe it. Now, we're actually going to work on some new features inside CodeSpring, which makes it easier to plan and research these sorts of things. And in the end, we have come up with a much better plan on how to actually build this feature. So essentially what we're going to do here is I've gone into Loom, right? And you can see I've searched here for captions. You can also search for VTT under the network tab. And you can see here, essentially, there is a whole load of requests that are coming through. And what we're trying to do is see, okay, is there a way, for us to grab the VTT file, which is essentially this transcript file, directly from the Loom link. Now, I've given that to ChatGPT. We've been thinking through it for a little bit. And this is part of the reasoning and sort of research phase that I want to add into CodeSpring, because right now it will do this, it will search the web and it will reason through and come up with plans for us, but I wanted to just spend a little bit more time brainstorming, so that's why I'm using ChatGPT for this bit. So essentially it says we've discovered the Loom's web player fetches a transcription JSON, richer is often word segment timing, and then captions web VTT files, super easy to pass into transcript. Importantly, your response headers show access control origin. So once you have the URL, your backend can fetch directly. The catch and why you can't construct the URL. Those policy, key pair ID, signature, query parameters, blah, 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 is assigned URL with an expiry, encoded policy, blah, 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 blah. So here's what it thinks is the best build, and we're going to work our way through this, and then we'll actually get started developing it for our app. So it's saying, essentially, try resolve, fetch, parse, cache. So it's going to come up with multiple ways of trying to extract, essentially, these captions, right? So we have these files here. And if we come back to here, this is /captions /VTT, right? Which is this file. If we come to here, right, it says here appears to missing key pair ID, all of this stuff, right, which is going to cause problems, right? And we'll come back here. We've also got, if we search for transcription, we can come into here. We can search for, we'll do transcription. I'm going to click on this one. And again, here we have this JSON as well, we're going to paste this, obviously the same issue. Now I'm wondering what happens if we paste the entire URL into a different chat, and again the same thing. So what we're going to do now is we're going to give this information to ChatGPT and we're going to let them know what we found. So we're going to take that, and then we're going to take this. Oops. And it may be that actually the easiest way of doing this is a quick fallback, which is essentially just saying to people, you know, the best thing you can possibly do is just come into your Loom account, paste the URL, and then copy and paste the transcript from Loom. Just literally click this copy button and paste it. But in terms of just user experience, I would love to be able to take the URL and then directly from the URL, I would love to be able to just get the transcript and put it into our app. But it may be difficult. It may be that we're not able to do this. So we're going to put this in here and say, will this work? And we're going to let ChatGPT sort of think through whether or not we can do this or not. So basically this will work if it's a public Loom video, right? So in the plan, we actually have here, I created a thing which is basically a proper description of if something fails, like proper error handling. That's one thing I want to do. And we're also going to have a fallback, I think, which is basically failing us being able to grab it. We'll have an error that says, okay, if not, just copy it and then copy and paste the transcript in. For now, just so we can get the first version out. So what we're doing here is I've basically got this analysis, and what I'm going to do is literally just take this, and I'm going to give CodeSpring this and say, so I've done some research analyzing the network tab when I have a public Loom URL, and I've done it in an incognito window on how we can actually get the transcript, because Loom actually has the transcript for that video. This is what I found. So if it's basically we're going to have a test. If it's a public URL, we'll try and grab the transcript this way. If it fails, then they can paste the transcript in. This is kind of the plan that we've come up with. And then we'll come down here, and we'll get it going with that. So let's just have a look through what ChatGPT discovered from analysing the endpoints. Loom's web player, base URL. Okay, I'm going to read this and summarise it. Okay, so CodeSpring said this approach is viable, but it's scraping, not an official Loom API. It works only when the Loom page is publicly accessible. Links are short-lived, must resolve and fetch immediately, then store past results. Want me to add a new Loom import transcription and share note? No, for now what we're going to do is we're going to update, so we're not going to use the Loom API. We're just going to have either this link, or it's going to be, if that fails, then they can paste the link in, and then they can also paste the corresponding transcript as well. So can you update the existing notes that we have, rather than adding any new notes, because I don't want to have any confusion. And basically the idea is we're going to get the Loom video. Obviously you can check it's a real Loom video. We're going to then try and see if we can actually get either the VTT or the JSON transcript. If found, we're going to capture it and then hopefully save it. If that fails, then we'll have the ability to basically paste it in the transcript as well. So we'll see if this works. Once this is done, we'll then import all of these plans into Cursor, and we'll get Cursor to start building. Cool, so it looks like it's done the updates on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove any old references to the idea where we would import an MP4 file, convert it to an MP3 and then transcribe it. And we're going to try and just see if we can build this new updated flow. So just like that, Loom transcript import public link with manual paste fallback. All I'm going to do now is, let's just summarize and continue. Can we also make sure that the tech stack is up to date? There's the idea of using a headless Chromium or something for scraping. I'm a bit worried about that in terms of scalability and also just building. I want it to be easy and simple to build. What I'm thinking is maybe we could use firecrawl.dev. I don't know if that would help us or not. Let me know what you think. So what we're going to do here is, realistically, when you're building an MVP, just keep it as simple as possible. We'll see what it comes up with. And then from here, we're then going to generate the requirement docs And what we'll do is we'll build this, and then once we've got that, this transcription pipeline, we'll keep that, but that will only work if we're going to have people uploading an MP4 file. So it says, Firecrawl looks like a hosted scraping browser automation. It matches the idea you mentioned, If your concerns are scalability and complexity, Firecrawl reduces the operational overhead. Okay, if Firecrawl will work, let's use that. And actually what we'll do is we'll get their documentation and we'll tell it to read. Double check their docs. See if it will work. And what we'll do is we'll also give it context on here. And we're going to get rid of this as well. We don't need that anymore. And remember to always save. There we go. Firecrawl fits your needs. Awesome. Want me to add Firecrawl to the tech stack? Yes. Add it. And make sure it's referenced in the necessary notes for the, and what is this pipeline that we called it? Multi-source video ingestion, for the video ingestion pipeline. And then basically this transcription pipeline here, we actually will now have to completely remove. We don't have to worry about that, so we can just get this, and then all we need to do is build the knowledge base, chunking and vector embeddings. We're pushing an update. If this ever happens to you, it's usually because we have a lot of usage, or it's because we're pushing an update. Yeah, pushing an update, 1 sec. Cool, looks like it's added the Firecrawl stuff. Let's just double check that's appeared in here. Cool, Firecrawl is done. Right, now for the fun part. Let's just make sure all of this is saved and updated. Look at how much information is inside this. So let's just auto layout, and we're going to come to here. Now let's generate a requirement doc. This is where we get started building. So we're going to just build the, I think it's just going to be backend really, isn't it? So what's going to happen is, inside our app, when we come into here, when we add a module and we paste this Loom video, we're going to click save, and it's going to then do this stuff. So let's come on to cursor. We're going to come to settings, cursor settings, tools and MCP. Cool, so the CodeSpring MCP is still set up. And now we're going to start a new chat. We're going to say, right now in our app, in the dashboard courses page, when I create a new lesson, it just saves the lesson title, the video source, and the URL to our database. What I want to be able to do now is we're going to build the back-end functionality to get the transcript from Loom. So we're just going to do the Loom functionality for now. Now, if you read my CodeSpring, using the CodeSpring MCP, we have a back-end database for multi-source video ingestion, which is going to explain how to actually set up the Loom video ingestion feature. What I want you to do is pull in the requirement doc and the notes context on that, and figure out a plan. So that's the back end on how we're going to build it, and I want to figure out, so when I save the Loom video, then it'll show, it'll then actually go ahead and get the transcript and give us like a success message. That's the other thing, is I don't think yet we have created transcripts in the database. So let's come onto here, I'm going to give this bridge to here, and I'm going to say, what I want to do is, for this feature, for the ingestion, multi-source video ingestion, where we're doing the Loom, when we grab the transcript, I think we probably just need to create a simple table that also tracks the lesson, so you can see the other tables that we've got from our other database requirement docs for our course builder. I don't think we have anywhere currently to store the transcripts, so we may need to create a new table to store the actual transcript. We're not going to do the vector embedding stuff yet, but we want to store at least the transcript for that lesson as well, and we'll send that through. And here we're going to say, we also have designed a new database product requirement doc for this multi-source video ingestion, which explains how to, I think we're going to create a new table in the database to store the transcript for each video as well. And let's just see, got it. I'll add a new database table for storing raw transcripts. And let's just auto layout. Ah, damn it. I forgot to save. Hang on. So always remember to save. We're adding auto save to this as well, so you shouldn't have to run into this problem. But database does. Oh no. I'm getting tired. I've been on calls with the developers all day. I haven't really had a chance to do this. So generate a PRD, auto layout. Was it backend features is what we created? Okay, so we've got the backend product requirement doc. What am I doing? Oh, here. Continue. So now what it's going to do is hopefully figure out, okay, what's the best way to design the database. So we're going to give this, and we'll let CodeSpring figure that out. Aha! And just like that, it's gone ahead, and you can see here it's created a database requirement doc lesson transcripts. So use a single table to store this. Cool, that's done. Let's just auto layout on that. Turns out using the trackpad with wet fingers doesn't work. Now it's saying, do you want to add a to-do checklist for the video ingestion? Yes, so we want to make sure there's a step-by-step guide on how to do this Loom video ingestion, because it is quite complicated, and I want to make sure that we have enough error checks, and also the front-end UI shows some stuff as well. Because the other thing is we probably need to design a front-end product requirement doc for this feature, but this feature really is going to be integrated into the front-end product requirement doc for our course builder feature, which I've attached into the context. So basically what's happening in the course builder is when I'm adding a lesson, is it'll show the transcript success message in there. And then also, yeah, we'll leave it like that for now. Cool, because what we'll also do is when we send this through, it'll build it, we'll see what it builds, and I'm trying to figure out what the best plan here is in terms of the app, because course builder, we just want it to show like a success, like it'll show draft and then pending. Actually, we'll add that in here. So it just needs to be very, very simple UI, really, just to show like it's pending and then like success transcript found or something on the lesson card, something very, very simple. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to generate a front-end requirement doc for that. Let's just save it and let's just build this. I've also generated okay, so what I'm going to do now is basically we're going to, I've also generated a database requirement doc on a new table that we also need to create to store the transcript for each lesson. And you can see we have the course schema here as well. And what I want you to do is if we found the transcript in the lesson, at the moment the little lesson card, once I click save, it says draft. I want it to say processing while it's looking for the transcript, and then success, transcript found or something. And then if it's no transcript found, then it'll come up with a button that we can then click to paste that in manually, following the requirement doc for the backup if the VCT doesn't work, if the transcript fails. Okay, so we're going to use, this is quite a difficult feature, so we'll use Opus 4.6, is that new? I'm going to go all models. Let's do, there's Opus 4.5. Opus 4.5 thinking, just because I haven't tried Opus 4.6 yet. Yeah, and we'll get that going. One thing I forgot to check is, yep, okay, the MCP is still connected, that's fine. So what we'll start to see here is hopefully some tool calls will come through. So it looks like Cursor's figured out our current implementation, course schema, course actions, tried to access CodeSpring MCPs but they don't appear to be available. Let's turn it off and on again. The old fix. So let's do retry CodeSpring MCP. There we go. Allow MCP. We just need to make sure that it finds the actual project that we're working on. Course knowledge base platform. Cool. Found the course knowledge base, get the PRDs, and I think in here it has the database schema on some of them, so it has some existing information that it needs access to. So it'll pull in hopefully the up-to-date backend and database PRD here. I found the PRDs. Let me fetch the most recent backend PRD and database design. So let's just double check that it's got this correctly. Backend PRD multi-source video ingestion. That's the one we're working on. Database PRD multi-source video ingestion. Okay, cool. So this is like, again, it feels, and I know we have a lot of users who use CodeSpring and they'll be like, it's quite a lot of work to design in CodeSpring, which it is, right? And we're making it easier, but you're trying to build a software here, and you know the time that it would have taken for a developer. You're spending $15 to $100 an hour for a developer to build these features for you. We're going to switch to plan mode because it can then. This is the other thing, right? Is we've got a plan here, and now Cursor can use its plan mode based on our plan to figure out the best way of implementing this. So you're literally just giving as much knowledge and as much context to the AI to make sure everything's going to work perfectly, right? And it's figuring out everything. So we've given it a lot of this information already that CodeSpring has already figured out. But CodeSpring has, pretty good idea and understanding of how the code goes together. I still need to integrate the GitHub repo into this. And now Cursor can actually go through, and I'm just going to accept this plan. I think this is fine. Video transcript schema, that's fine. Failure code, phase 2 Loom transcript, create Loom URL parser, transcript fetcher, parser 2, phase 3 server actions, create manual transcription action for pasting transcripts manually. Cool, so it's got the fallback as well. So I'm happy with that. Let's go ahead and start building. And it can take a while to plan things. Like if you're paying a developer to build an app for you, right? And by the way, if you want to use this software, you can actually get 50,000 free credits if you sign up with a link down below in the description, and you grab yourself a paid pro plan on the premium plan, and you can get 50,000 free credits, which is essentially 5 months of free work inside CodeSpring. But your developer would have to do the planning anyway, right? So if you have a developer, they can use this software. At the moment, right, they're going to have to do the planning and the research and the designing before they write a single line of code. Where most people fall apart when they're designing and building apps with AI is they go straight into development because it's exciting. But if you make a mistake when you're planning and you just go straight into development, that's where errors happen. That's where things fall back. And, especially with complex features like this, it all comes down to the planning and designing. So, for example, last night I was planning this new feature for the multi-source video ingestion, and I initially thought, as you saw earlier, that I would get the Loom video, I would then somehow download it into an MP4 file, convert it into an MP3 file, and then transcribe it, which is very, very powerfully intensive and also incredibly difficult to do. And in fact, actually, we found a much better strategy where we could just grab the transcript from Loom, right? And all of this comes through planning, getting the plan right before you actually start building anything. Now, we're not saying that just because you have a great plan, you can one-shot any app. That's not how it works, but it does mean you don't have thousands of dead lines of code, right? And what you'll realize is if you were to build something, let's say I had gone for designing and building the MP4 conversion, right? So I had already planned out where we would get the Loom video URL, we would paste it into here, and then it would convert it into download as an MP4 file, convert it into an MP3 file, send it off to OpenAI to transcribe it, and then save the transcription. if I had started coding that, it would have involved database design changes, it would have involved a whole load of creation on Backend, and it could have involved a whole load of like structural and architectural changes, right? I could have had to do stuff on various servers, I may have had to use various APIs to get these things done, and then I could have realised later on that there's no way that's ever going to work. But then I would have to come up with this new plan, and this new plan would only happen, I would then have to go through and just undo all of the work that I've done and then redo this new plan, right? Or I'd have to roll back to a previous version and then just start all over again. And that's a huge amount of money that you spent on cursor credits to build this. Alternatively, it's a huge amount of time that you're going to lose as well, right? So you're much better off creating a detailed plan first with CodeSpring. And what we're doing is we are creating the visual representation of how you put things together. We're creating the research tools for you that makes it a lot easier to do all of these things. So then you can go ahead and actually build an app properly. And we're working on making it easier. We're working on making it so it's literally just done through a chatbot. And it's only $350 for a full year to grab access to this software. We don't have a monthly plan at the moment. All of the money that comes from people signing up and using and buying credits inside our software, which by the way you can do if you want to grab more credits, you just need to come into here and purchase more credits, right? All of these things come from time and experience and just working on working on updates and things, and all of that money that we get from people using it goes directly back into development and research for making these tools better. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a little bit nervous. I really hope this feature works. I mean, it'd be amazing if it worked first try. So here you go, it's got a little processing thing in here, and what we're going to do, let's just have a look through and see what it's coded. So coming up here, so we've got video transcript schema, right? So if we come into our database and our schema, here we're going to have, okay, so the video ID, so it knows which video it's connected to, which is great. We're going to have the raw text payload, and because on the video it's access to the video ID, the video has the URL in our in here somewhere. So it has the URL, so that's fine. Courses schema, it's updating that, it's making sure they're all connected, that's cool. And then it's just creating the UI components for making sure all of this works. Okay, transcripts, queries, this is so it can actually communicate with the database. Course actions, and this is the thing when you're vibe coding, you need to just sort of get used to, I don't know what, I know I can read this, I know what that does, but individual files, TypeScript, I couldn't write it if I didn't have AI, right? As soon as AI goes down, I can't code. Course editor, but I built CodeSpring. I designed the first version of CodeSpring. I ran it for 8 months. We got it to $75,000 a month, just with a vibe coded code base. So you can do the same, right? And I'll show you with this. We're going to get this to 10k a month. I can guarantee it. Course editor, manual transcript dialog, course editor. Okay, so npm run db generate migrate. Cool. So. Let's just keep all those changes, and we're going to come to here. We should see a new table appear. There you go, video transcripts. Obviously I refreshed just as it came in. Video transcripts is here, video ID, source language, raw text, raw payload, all of that stuff. Excellent, and that's what we had planned with our database requirement doc here. So now, if we come back to the app, let's refresh. Here we go, courses have been found. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to Loom, and what we should see is when we do this, right, what we actually want to see in here is the, let me scroll, raw text payload from the Loom video. So we're going to pick a Loom video, and we're going to create a lesson, and we're going to test if this feature works. So this is let's take this one because it's only 3 minutes long. We're going to come to our app. We're going to add a module. We're going to call this, oh no, let's not, let's just add a lesson. We're going to call this transcript. I'll tell you what, if this works first time, I'll be absolutely astounded. The other thing with Loom videos is I don't know how long they remain public or live or accessible for, so we'll see what happens. So let's come to here, and we may need to fix these issues. What's going on here? I think that should be fine. We'll see what happens. So let's add lesson. We'll see if any bugs come through. So draft. Cool. So we had some errors. come through here, paste the errors in, and we're going to say, so I tried to create a new lesson and I pasted in a Loom video URL, but we've run into some errors because it hasn't, first of all, it comes back with a invalid URL error. I'm not sure why that is, because it is a correct URL. It's also saving it correctly to the database, but when I then edit that lesson in the modules in the UI, it's not saved the URL, so it's not pulling it from the database, and I don't think it also hasn't created the video transcript as well, so it hasn't actually found the transcript either. And I don't think we're getting any. Let's come to inspect. Got any console errors? We've got some console errors, but I think it already knows about those. But we'll drag these anyway, and we'll give these directly to cursor as well. And we'll get it to fix it. Oh, it's because this metadata transcription path. Regex patterns are extracting relative paths. Let's just come back to here, and we're going to give it the, what was the URL? It was this one, wasn't it? So we're going to say this, I think it actually had it. This is the Loom URL. And also, we'll come to here, and we'll go to the network tab, and we'll find out, what it is actually that we're trying to find. So, inspect, network, and then click on transcript. This is it. And this is the JSON one that we're after. This from the network tab. If you're watching this and you're a developer, you're probably crying because I'm doing so many things that you would probably just already know or do better. Right, continue and revert. And I'll come back once this is done. Again, let's just have a look and make sure it's doing the correct thing. So, invalid URL error, regex pattern, blah, 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 UI not showing saved URL, the form isn't loading, saved video, yeah. Regex patterns are looking for CloudFront URLs, but Loom actually uses cdn.loom. Yeah, cdn.loom. Also, the alternative patterns are extracting relative paths without the domain. The only thing is, I don't know whether this here, so this number A327, and then AA7, I think is this one here, A327, yep, AA7, it's just this -2.json at the end. Presumably, we can still get access to it with the correct URL that we have. So we'll see what happens. Right, let's see, has it done it? Fix UI. Okay, so here we go, no transcript, so that's working. Add transcript. Let's try, this is the video, right? So we'll grab this over here because don't forget we have a fallback. So the fallback is working, right? It knows that there's no video transcript for that video. It also knows that the video is there. Let's just see actually, if I go into this. Okay, so we fixed the issue so it knows the Loom video, so that's good. We just need that to work. Transcript. Let's copy the transcript and paste that in here. Save transcript. Don't know why that's taken so long. Save manual transcript, got a timeout issue. I'm not sure what caused that, but we can fix it. But what I'm actually trying to test here, what's the really important one, is can we grab this? So let's just double check, right, there's nothing in the database. Oh, so it did actually save. Aha, so it saved the transcript, but it timed out. Okay, so the manual, also if you can hear my computer fan, sorry about that, the manual paste a transcript failed on the front end UI, but it did actually save it into the database. Let's now try add a module. I keep adding modules. So this is a UI issue here, right? Like if you find yourself keep on clicking a button here, that's because, you know, traditionally your brain is used to clicking buttons like this to add lessons or add something. So what we need to do is also I keep finding myself clicking the add module button to add a lesson. What I want to do is saying make it so it says plus add module / lesson or something like that, and then it comes up with click, and then there's a little drop down on it to select, do I want a module or a lesson. Also the add lesson button in the module, when there's nothing there, it says no lessons in this module, and there's like a clear add lesson button in the middle. But when I've got lessons in there, then it's quite difficult to see because it's on the left. Can we make sure we have consistent UI on that? Right, and now let's come, see, I almost did it again. So we're going to add a lesson. I'm going to say this is going to be transcript test 2, Loom. This is the Loom video, and then fingers crossed. So we're going to add a lesson, processing. And I don't know whether this, because we're using a server action, theoretically, right, it should update straight away in the UI when something has done it. So it's checking here, fetching share page, found it, okay, it's found a JSON URL. So we should see if it works. There we go, another table. Look at that. Cool, basically. That looks like it's working. Okay, so it looks like it saved it to the database. It's there. It's not got the... So it's got the raw payload with obviously the timestamps, which is good. We may find the formatting on this is going to be an issue because it's different to this one. So let's just say... Okay, so it looks like that it actually managed to fetch the transcript. You can see here. A few things. One, the raw text is obviously different to the raw payload. So this is the raw text of when it fetches it. And then this is the raw text when I actually paste it in. Do you think the formatting is going to be a problem? Also, on the front end, I was hoping because we're using server actions, it still says processing on the front end. If I refresh the page, for that lesson it says transcript ready, but I want it to just automatically update without me having to refresh the page. Okay, so we're going to send that, and then we'll let it fix that problem. And then once all this is done and working, we will then resynchronize it back with CodeSpring. Right, so I was on the phone for a while. So we're done, basically. It looks like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into the database. I'm just going to delete all of the old things in the database because I'm getting a bit confused on what we've done. Okay, that deleted the transcripts. Any modules? Let's delete the modules. And then let's delete the courses. And then let's come into here. Obviously we'll refresh. That course won't exist. So we're going to create a course. We're going to call this test. Create a course. And then we're going to come to, let's just put my face over here. So add a module. Cool, so it fixed the button, so we can add a lesson like this. Module 1, we're going to call this transcript 1, Loom, do a Loom video, which is this one here. Paste the Loom video in, add a lesson, processing, transcript ready. Cool, okay. So courses, let's let this update. Obviously course is in there, video is in there. Transcript looks like it's in here. Yep, raw text. So it has the transcript. So it says it is aware of how these features are connecting. Is that the last bit of this? It is aware of how the features are connecting. Cool, so it's got the full transcript. That's working.
Arrow flow.
Next thing, let's test adding a lesson. I'm glad I added that. Like I literally just keep doing the same thing. So we'll do transcript 2, Loom, same Loom video. Does it work again? The next thing, yeah, that worked again. So next one I'm going to do Okay, so can we just double check, will this transcript thing work at scale? Like if we have 50 or 100 users doing this, will this system that's set up work for multiple users on different computers if they paste in their different Loom videos? Is there we don't need like weird proxies or VPNs or something like that, right? Cool, and then what we'll do is we'll resync CodeSpring with the codebase, and then what I want to do is I want to make sure that these changes then here, I can come into the knowledge base, and then we'll design the knowledge base area, and we'll be able to see, okay, actually we have these knowledge bases ordered by module, i.e. like folders, and we'll figure that out. So let's come into, well, let's just wait for this. You raise a valid concern. Public Loom pages don't require auth. What could become problems at 50 or 100 concurrent users if Loom detects scraping patterns and blocks your server IPs? That's true. Vercel function cold starts adding latency. Queue system. Okay, so I want this to work for at least 50 concurrent users. Do you think we have the correct infrastructure right now, or we should have some sort of proxy thing set up, or do you think it'll run into a problem, or do you think we'll be fine? Is there any way we can run some sort of test for this? Honest assessment, you'd like to be fine without proxies. Here's why. Different videos equals distributed load. So 50 users means 50 different Loom video IDs. You're not hammering one endpoint. Yeah, true. Loom shares pages that are designed or embedded, shared widely. They expect traffic. CDN is robust. Proxies would add extra latency. Okay, it's creating a load test. I don't know how that's going to work. How we run that, I have no idea. Here's how to use it. Edit. Let's add some. Okay, let's just grab a couple of Loom video URLs. That one, and this one. Okay, can you run this load testing on these 3 Loom video URLs? And this is one thing that I realized a long time ago when I first built, like the first apps that I built in CodeSpring when I first built it is, looks like that's vanished. We need to fix that. Is sometimes like you'll lose, like some of these things will be problems, and like especially downloading things and scraping, you can run into problems like this. The other thing is actually, I don't know if we're doing the scraping from, I think we had planned on doing it from Firecrawl. Are we doing the scraping using Firecrawl or what? So 15 current requests passed. Let me push higher to simulate 30. When it says it passed, does it mean it's just adding shit to the database? How is it testing this? Because if we're using Firecrawl, presumably we can do proxies on that, or are we doing our own scraper? So it looks like 30 passed. Let's try 50. We could even try, let's try 200. Okay, so all of those passed. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to Firecrawl, get their documentation, add this. Because if we can use Firecrawl and it means we'll be more secure, then that's fine. Indexing and docs, add a doc. Confirm. Obviously, if 200 concurrent test works, then presumably that means we'll probably be okay at scale. So if that's fine, maybe we don't need Firecrawl. Like we get about 200 concurrent users on CodeSpring at the moment. We process about $150,000 a month in revenue. So If that works, we should be fine, assuming that this is actually like a legit test. So we're not using Firecrawl at the moment. Clearly at some point either our plan here, I can't remember if we, in our backend, decided to use Firecrawl. I can't remember where we're at right now. My computer is lagging. Okay, well it seems to think 200 concurrent requests passed. We're using our own simple scraper. Loom pages are HTML, no JavaScript, no capture, bot detection, no rate limiting even at 200 concurrent. Bottom line, 200 concurrent requests worked. Okay, great. So what we're going to do now, we're going to come to CodeSpring, we're going to add a checkpoint, we're going to say planned Loom transcript scraping. Designed a Loom transcript scraper with fallback to paste transcripts. Create a checkpoint on that. What I want you to do now is the backend product requirement doc and the database product requirement doc inside CodeSpring for the multi-source video ingestion and also the notes that we've added to them. I want you to synchronize what we've done here with those requirement docs and also the notes and make sure that everything is up to date on my CodeSpring plan for what we've just built for this Loom transcript scraper. And it should use the CodeSpring MCP, which I'm going to turn off and on again just quickly. I'll sync everything once we've built your CodeSpring PRDs. Let me first check the product link and get the PRDs. So hopefully I'll get the CodeSpring MCP working. And I created this backup here because then if you may remember from day 2, I think it was, where it created loads of features here when it's synchronized from this end. If that happens and we run into issues, then we can always come back to here and it's not the end of the world. MCP server is named this. CodeSpring, project agent. I can see the transcript in the CodeSpring MCP tools. Okay, so I think it's working. I'll come back once it's done. I'm having trouble invoking them. Okay, hang on. Yeah, now it's working. I don't know what was going on there. Cursor keeps disconnecting MCPs. It doesn't have like an auto reconnect. We're working on our end to see if there's anything we can do to make this so it doesn't keep disconnecting. But it seems to be that it disconnects. I don't know why. It's possible actually because we have so much usage. We're actually updating our infrastructure for CodeSpring because we have so many users for it using the MCP, and it's possible that because we've got so much usage, then it then times out, and that's why Cursor disconnects. So this update over the next 2 or 3 weeks should fix that problem, but we'll see. You'll see, obviously, in day like 30, for example, for this plan. But I'm hoping in the next week we should have an MVP working in the next 3 or 4 days. Also, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to say this here in this video. I'm going to film as much as I can, but it may not be every single video is going to show, exact progress. I'm going to try and film as much as I can, but there may be some evenings where I want to do a little bit of tweaking, and I may not catch it on camera, but we'll see. So what we should see now is it says getting the PRDs, and then it should update. Where are we? Here, we should update these. It may add some more features as well. Right, so CodeSpring MCP sync. So it's changed the backend PRD, hopefully. And then when I refresh this page, we should see some updates on this. So let's just come into here. You see here it says V1. Hopefully that'll update to V2. And this is like, one of the really cool things about this is it keeps us up to date on what we're doing. And one thing I'm going to do in a minute is, once this is done, I'm going to change this design here from multi-source video ingestion to be Loom video ingestion. And we'll probably then make a separate one at a later date for the YouTube video ingestion. But for now, we'll just start off with, I think, the Loom one, because we have YouTube and MP4, but we'll do those later. Also, you can see here we've got 17 current features. You can see 65 nodes, 17 features. At the moment, it's looking for add the implementation notes to this feature, so it's just going to let the CodeSpring know how it's implemented this and what it's done. Let me also create the local config file to link to this project. Okay, cool. So it's going to create a .codespring folder. Here we go. Cool. .codespring. I should have done that a while ago because clearly I didn't want to do it. Okay, so it looks like it's done it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come onto here. Let's see if this updates. Let me log in. That was weird. Right. Okay, so updated. Backend product requirement doc, that's been updated here. That's empty, we'll fix that in a minute. It's also added this implementation notes as well, which is quite cool. So we're going to save that, make sure that's all fine, and then we have the traditional, which is a bug that we're going to fix, which is the deduplication of these. So we're going to create a new chat, and we're going to say, add to context, please deduplicate the use this. Please deduplicate these features. You can see there's 775 pages or 775 features in here. I want you to deduplicate and just keep the first 17 features. Make sure all of the connections to their bridge nodes and tertiary nodes are intact. And send that one through. And then the next time I do this, we'll probably have Kanban working. And then, well, the Kanban is working, it's just there's a UI. There's like one line of code which we need to update in the UI. That means we can actually, oh, there we go. I think we've actually pushed the update. Here we go. So I need to clean out all of these. This is my testing I did yesterday. So we'll actually have, for the next feature, we'll create Kanban tasks and we'll move them into complete and everything. So we don't actually have these problems in the future. So we can have, so we have like a way of versioning, so we can go, you know, have things being completed if they have been completed, all of that. Right, here we go. So it's now got the 17 features are done and deduplicated. Save that, make sure it's all up to date, and then I think we're pretty happy. So that means right now we have this, which means it saves it. All I want to do now is I want to come back into CodeSpring, which is now here. And I want to, I'll move myself out of the way, why not? Okay, what I want you to do now is the multi-source video ingestion. Can we change the name of that? Because it's actually just Loom video ingestion. So that feature is specifically for how we pull in a Loom video and get the transcript. And we'll, because later on we'll create more features for other types of ingestion. And what I want to do now is design a knowledge base, I think, because the next thing is once we have the transcript, we can then do the chunking and vector embeddings and things. So we have the knowledge base and indexing. So I don't really know, let's come to Dribble and see what design inspiration we can get for knowledge bases. Let's just close some of these tabs as well. Like this idea, I really like. Yeah, this is good. I like this. Okay. Have you got any other examples? So basically what I'm thinking is we have... so did it rename it? There we go, Loom video ingestion. No, that's fine, that's all done. That's all saved. So what I'm thinking is inside here, in the knowledge base, which obviously isn't built yet, we want to have, essentially be able to see, we've updated the transcript and all of the videos will be part of the knowledge base. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take the knowledge base indexing, add this to content. What we're going to do now is we're going to work on the knowledge base indexing feature. Specifically, I want to tell you about the design for the knowledge base indexing and the UI for it, because what we really have is the stuff we've created in the Loom video ingestion and the course builder. We're creating elements in the database where we have obviously the videos, we have the lessons, we have the modules and the courses. We want those to also show up in the knowledge base. So I don't think we need a new database table for the knowledge base, because the knowledge base will essentially link to the vector database, which we haven't built yet. So we need to figure out the chunking mechanism as well. So once we have the transcript, which we obviously have in the transcript, it's called the video_transcript database, which you have access to. You can see under the Loom video ingestion, it's a PRD under there. Basically what we want to do is in the knowledge base section is see all of our files that we've created, but they will be in the knowledge base and organized kind of in folders, but the folders will be organized by course, and then you can click into a course and then you can see the module. And then in the knowledge base we want to be able to see all of the chunks that are available for that specific thing. Send that through. That's quite a beefy prompt. But basically what I'm thinking is we have a knowledge base, so we can come in and we can see here's all of the knowledges down on the left hand side, or maybe there'll be like a navigation view, and then we can click into a folder, for example, and then we can see what's inside the folder. So it'll be like it'll be a folder view like what's shown here. I'm thinking we come in, there's some sort of folder view, we click into it, and then once we're inside it, we can see. So this folder will basically be the course, for example, or it'll be like an actual folder that we've created. But for now, it'll be courses, and then we'll go in and then we can see the modules will be another folder, and then we'll go in and then we'll see all the files, and then we can click into a file and then we can see the actual chunks like this. So we'll save that. What's CodeSpring come up with? So choose the default chunking strategy. So segment, sentence based, timestamp window. I want to do timestamp window, I think. No, let's do this one because it's recommended. We're going to use OpenAI text embedding, lower cost, good recall. Where is it? I think it's transcription pipeline. Not that one. Where is it? Knowledge base. Here we go. This is what we're working on. Oops. Let's just collapse everything. Auto layout. Knowledge base indexing. So there's a lot of information in here already. Some things weren't connected, that's fine. Okay, I'll pause this, I'll come back once this is done. So we started to figure out database design. Knowledge base embeddings. What should I add next to the knowledge base PRD? Reindex job flow? No. Knowledge base browse, search API. I'm just going to skip for now. And what I want to do is describe the UI a little bit. We want, I think, just very, very basic vector embeddings, and we want to get those done. So that used 611 credits. So some of these big tasks, with lots of context, can use a lot of credits. If you do end up using a lot of credits, it's not because we're burning credits and we're trying to steal loads of credits from you. It's because you're doing quite complicated tasks. It takes the AI a lot of time to figure out. And building anything with AI is going to take a lot of time. And equally, doing this planning, right, that may have cost me 50 cents or $1 to do, not a lot, but equally, if you were to do that yourself, it would take hours. It would take a developer hours to figure it out, and it would cost you hundreds of dollars to do this planning. So you're saving a lot of money by doing this. Just remember that. So what I want for this knowledge base, realistically, my UI that I'm thinking is I want to have so when you come into the knowledge base, there's a list of folders that you see straight away, and the folders are basically organized by either, in the knowledge base we can create a folder and we can upload something directly to the knowledge base. So we could go into the knowledge base and we could then view all of the things in the knowledge base. Alternatively, we can upload a folder which would then go through the chunking mechanism and then obviously the vector embeddings. But if we have existing things in our app, like courses, for example, so a course, so in the knowledge base, all of the courses would be a folder, and then inside the courses, we should see all of the modules as folders, and then you click into the module, you then see a list of all of the lessons, which are essentially files, because obviously a lesson is a video, right? You click into that, and then you can see a view, which basically shows you all of the chunks for that specific video that you can then see as well. So there'll be like a list, and then at the top there'll be like a search file content area where we can actually search for something in the file. And I want to make sure that the chunks, because we're using the transcripts, retain the name of the video, the URL of the video, and as metadata probably, and also I want to have the timestamps in there, so then later on if I'm searching for something, it can take me to a specific section of the video, like 30 seconds into the video, for example. Remember, you can use context 7 to plan out and read the super base docs, I think, for PG vector. Okay, so we've added, so we've got the knowledge base UI spec. Should manual knowledge base folders appear alongside course folders? Yes. So you can create your own folders. Confirm deep link format for public videos. Courses, course video ID. Yeah, I think that's a good one. And for the most part, if you get confused here, you can then interrupt it. We're adding an interrupt feature, and then it can go ahead and let you know, what's recommended, for example. But it told us what was recommended there. Just boiling the kettle to make some lunch at 4:30 at night. But you can see here it's got the action items of what to do. Implement index pipeline. So I think we're probably ready to start building this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this because that's wrong, and I'm going to tag this, and I'm going to say based on our plan for the front-end UI, on how I want things to look and also how I want it to show existing course content inside the knowledge base, and also based on the backend, I want to figure out and create a front-end product requirement doc for this. So what I've done here is I've said, look, we're going to design the vector database, and we're going to include the correct metadata as well, because I want to be able to search in the AI to find the correct information, right? And I want it to be able to give me the video URL. So if I'm using an AI chat, it can then say, okay, this is the video you're finding. So it has the file path to it, and also any other metadata like timestamps and whatnot. I'm going to get it to use the context 7 MCP, because you can see here, super base docs, so it can then search the correct documentation and create a proper requirement doc for that. So I'm just going to approve that MCP to query the docs as well. There we go, so it's designed the vector database. It's got all of the tables for it, you can see here. Plan that out. And what I did is I got it to read the context 7 docs, so that should be up to date now. So what I'm going to do is summarize this chat, and we'll continue in a new chat, so we don't lose any of the data there. But I think that's probably everything now. That's the front end. We'll also, actually, you know what? Let's get it to also make a backend PRD for this. So the other thing we need to think about here is in the metadata for the vector embeddings, we need to store things like folders, and we may need to create a folders table in the database. So we'll have a folders and then also a vectors table as well, but we'll see. This is quite a complicated thing to build, so we'll see how this does. Hopefully, because it's read the documentation and it has context, and then when we give it to Cursor to code it, it should also be able to figure it out when we give it the documentation. But I am a bit worried about it's not working or being efficient, especially in the way it chunks as well. That's why I told it to make sure, the transcript, the chunking is also done efficiently, because you could have like 1,000 users trying to chunk, I don't know, 1,000 transcripts each into 200 token chunks. It could take a lot of usage. Okay, so it looks like we decided we're not going to do a new knowledge base table for course content. We're going to reuse courses, modules, lessons, videos. I don't think we're going to have, for now, let's not bother having a folder system. It may be that we'll be fine as we are. It may be that later on when we decide to add like individual items to the knowledge base, we want to have a separate folder system. So what I'm going to do now is create a checkpoint, save this, and then we'll start building. Okay, so the next plan is we're going to try and pull in the features plans here for the knowledge base, and then we're going to start building. So can you use the CodeSpring MCP to pull in the just the context on how we have planned the knowledge base indexing? So we've got a front-end requirement doc for what we want the pages to look like, and I'll give you some screenshots on how I want those to look as well. We have a back-end sort of vector database design, because we're going to be using Supabase PG vector. And then obviously there's the whole back-end on the knowledge base and chunking and embeddings, metadata, folders, that sort of stuff, which is quite complicated. And then if there's any Supabase SQL migrations and changes and things that we need to do with that so it works with the existing code base, then please pull that information in, gather that context, and then we're going to start building, first of all, just the front end, and then we'll work on the back end, and then we'll do the vector embeddings stuff. I'm going to say only start with the front end, because I want it to pull in all of the context, but I only want to code the front end for now, and we're going to give it these screenshots so it has context on what we want it to look like. I'm only going to take all of it for now, and then we'll get the other one, which is this one here. I've also given you two screenshots on what I want the knowledge base design to look like. Obviously it has these images of folders, which we don't have, but we can just sort of create some template placeholder for now. So the knowledge base is going to show all of the folders. You can click into the folders, see any folders within folders. So for example, the first folders will be all the courses. You can click into it and you can see all the modules. That will be another folder. And then you can click into that, and then you can see all the files, which is going to be the second screenshot, which is basically going to have like a search at the top where you can actually search through the chunks using, we haven't built the back end for it, but it'll be a search thing. Just build the UI, and then we'll have a list of all of the chunks as well, with the number of the chunk, how many characters are in it, what the actual text is for that chunk, and also like you can see in the image, it says onboarding guide. We want that sort of style so we can see actually like a hyperlink essentially to the video. And let's use for this max mode. Enable max mode. Go. Because this is really complicated to do, and then we're going to come to Supabase, and I've forgotten how do we set up PG vector. So I think it says we need to come to database, extensions, there is it. So run that. Success. Add a vector column to a table. Quick extension if not exists. Okay, so these things here, I think. So I think actually it's just a normal table, and then one of the columns is essentially of type vector. Let's allow this. But our requirement docs should explain, and this should figure it out. The other thing I'm going to do is I've got in here the docs. I'm going to add the Supabase docs as well. That way Cursor has that information if it needs it. Okay, so it already has it. Clearly it's already been uploaded. Cool, so we've pulled in the knowledge base platform, course builder. Here we've pulled in the knowledge base PRD, so it's backend PRD. I think these are just the features it's pulled in, so it knows the features. And then again, what it's done is it's taken all of this information and it's created some to-do lists on what to do. I think what I'm going to do though is actually I'm going to swap this into plan mode. I'm going to say read the. I want you to read the requirement docs that we have planned in CodeSpring. So the vector database, backend database, the front-end PRD for knowledge base, the backend knowledge base chunking and embeddings, and also the Supabase SQL migrations, all of these things, and figure out based on our current code base how this is going to integrate, and also reading the Supabase docs to make sure that we build this correctly. Right, so what this is basically going to do is it's going to look through all of our code, it's going to look through all of our plans, read the documentation and just double check everything. CodeSpring's pretty good at figuring this stuff out, but obviously it doesn't know exactly what our code is. It knows a lot about our plan, but it doesn't know everything. This is then going to just make sure everything's correct. So rather than just going into Cursor and saying, I want to build this, and then letting it figure it out, we're doing 2 layers of planning, basically. So sidebar has the knowledge base already in it. So courses, modules, lessons, videos, video transcripts, that's correct. Data flow, so we have the dashboard knowledge base. Shows courses as folders, shows modules as subfolders, lessons as files, that's good. Shows chunks plus search. So I think it's got the right idea for the UI. Files to create, yeah, whatever, that's fine. Temporary chunking until backend. Since we don't have the chunking backend yet, we'll create a client-side chunking utility. The only thing I'm going to say here is the backend product requirement docs that I had planned inside CodeSpring, which I'll also copy and I'll give you in the chat as well, but you can get them by using the MCP. Basically, I think we designed a chunking system, but I want to make sure that it is going to work scalably with 50, 100, 200 concurrent users. I don't want to do it client side, is basically what I'm saying here. Data fetching strategy, that's fine, I think. Yeah, this is a placeholder, that's fine. Although actually, to be fair, we had planned on just building the front end, so yeah, let's just continue with that, that's fine. And we'll do the back end later. Try and avoid building front end, back end, and database all in one prompt, basically. Right, so we just let that run, and I think it's just done the front end. So if we come to here for the knowledge base, is this running? We'll see what it's created. Okay. So we have the knowledge base here, and then what we should see, there we go, all of the courses. So we only have test course 1, and then we have this breakdown on the left-hand side. So if we come to here, why is this? I think my computer's just being slow. We have the one course, we can click into it. Should theoretically take us in. There we go. I think it's just being slow. Close some of these tabs. Okay, so I have to double click, that's not what I was expecting. And then I think because there's only one module in here, it's just showing it like this, and then obviously you've got these are the lessons, and you can kind of go into the lesson, and then you can see each of the chunks. I don't know how it's doing it for now. I don't know if it's actually run any of the chunks at all. Have you built the backend functionality? If not, what I want you to do now is look at the CodeSpring MCP for the backend product requirement doc, which I'll also, to be fair, I'll copy and paste it. You can see it above. That's the backend requirement doc and how we want to build the chunking, and also the database requirement doc, vector db pg vector on Supabase. Look at those, and I want you to plan out exactly how to implement those. Because at the moment, if I go into the test module and one of the transcripts, it shows me the chunks. The problem is I don't actually know if it's correct. I think it's sort of formatting it on the front end, but it's not actually, chunked it and saved it. The other thing is I don't know how we're showing it in the database, where we're going to save the chunks. Do we want to create a table in the database for where we store these chunks, or do we store the chunks on the lessons table? I can't remember what the database plan says. And then again, I'm going to add the Supabase documentation. Building vector databases is pretty difficult, so hopefully this works. DB, so there's the database folder. I'm going to put this onto plan mode. And again, I think we'll use max mode for this as well. And the other thing I want to do at some point is we can change the UI a little bit, because when we come back to here on the main section, it's a little bit slow to load. And what I want to do is I want to change the colours, because at some point we'll pick a colour theme for this product. I'm thinking blue or something like that. Right, here we go. This is designing the back end now. So we've got the video transcripts table. It's going to store the raw transcript, which I think we've already got. Lessons.indexing state. Front end shows chunks via temporary client-side chunking. Yeah, that's what it had explained earlier. OpenASDK. We need to get our API key. We'll do that in a minute. Database uses Drizzle. Yeah, that's fine. So knowledge base embeddings table for the storing chunks. Oh, so we're building a new table. I honestly forgotten what we were going to do. Here we go, knowledge base embeddings. So architecture overview, we're going to have video transcripts, trigger layer transcripts, click.updated, manual reindex request, which we hadn't planned that. I think CodeSpring figured that out. Can't remember now. Normalized transcript, chunk with token timestamp awareness, generate OpenAI embeddings, upsert to knowledge base. Yep, knowledge base, PG vector. It's been so long since I've done vector embeddings, database schema. Okay, so I think this seems to be pretty good. And this is one thing to get used to, is just reading these plans. And we're going to pull that. And again, it's pulling all of this information and context from, it has access to CodeSpring MCP. So if we come back to the settings, tools and MCP. So it has some of the things in here, and I think also this config.json helps it log in. I don't know whether on that request it re-requested. I think it still has the product requirement docs still in its chat history, but also I gave it the, you can copy, sometimes when I'm doing something complicated, I like to just copy the backend PRD and just dump it into the chat as well. And the reason we're doing that is because this has already thought through the architecture of how to put everything together, and then all this is doing is it's just saying, okay, let's just double check that. Is there anything that we've missed? Let's read the Supabase documentation again, and then make sure that everything's up to date and it can slot in perfectly with our current code. Because what we want to avoid is just a whole load of dead code when we're building this. Right, looks like it's done it. So all tasks are being completed successfully. Knowledge-based backend implementation. So we've got the database layer. So what I want to do is come onto here, and I don't know if it's created the migration yet. I think it has. Maybe it didn't. Right, let's turn off max mode for now. Run the db generate and migrate. Build server-side chunking. So Chunking 200 to 300 tokens per chunk with 20% overlap. That's good. I wanted to make sure there was overlap. I forgot to mention that, but I saw it in the CodeSpring docs. Passes the loom JSON VTT format to preserve timestamps. That's good. Again, these are like edge cases which, if you're just building it and telling the AI, it may not think through it. It's when you have a proper plan to follow, it'll think through it. OpenAI text embedding. So what I need to do is actually get my API key from OpenAI. I'll add that in a second. Server actions, looks like it's on everything. Okay, so it's now going to run these. So we should see in a second the knowledge base embeddings table appear once this is done. Okay, so it says, this is our usage for CodeSpring at the moment, it's ridiculous. So it says it's created the knowledge base embeddings table. So let's have a look. Here we go, knowledge base embedding, so ID, so okay, cool, so it's saving the video ID, chunk index, text, token count. Here we go, this is the vector. Perfect. Notice the RPC function, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it's just making some fixes. Drizzle migration is complete. So, theoretically, what we should see now is, I'm actually just going to, while I'm working on this, going to give this screenshot to Cursor and tell it to do some fixes. I like what we've got for the UI for the knowledge base. My only problem is in the knowledge base area where it says all the modules. I don't know, it's sort of lacking. It looks a little bit too chaotic and a little bit too small. I like the folder. Actually, this, but we'll keep the theme as orange for now. Can you make sure that you follow the what I've got is front-end skills folder, and we're actually going to create a load of these skills inside CodeSpring. And by the way, if you're still watching and you want to sign up, don't forget you can click the link down below. You can get 50,000 free credits when you buy a pro plan as well. But what we're going to probably do is have various skill files to make it easier for UI. To make sure that any colours like the orange that you're using are global variables and they're not hard-coded. And I want you to sort of follow the image design a little bit more with what I have created or what the screenshot I've given you. Especially in the left-hand side where there's the drop-down for the test and then the module. And make sure the front-end UI now actually reads correctly based off whether the chunking and embeddings are in the database. Okay, so let's give it this screenshot. Yeah. And then what we can do is, what's wrong with this? I don't like, at the moment, inside our thing where it says test, I assume it's because when we come onto the knowledge base area, all of the courses, so when we actually come in and see the knowledge base, all courses and folders, it's what you see in screenshot 3. That's kind of fine. I don't like the all courses. I just want to see folders, and then the 1 courses, 2 lessons, 2 indexed thing, we can remove that. Can you also clean up the card that has the folder icon in and make sure that it's pulling correct data from the database? And then when I click into that folder, I don't like the fact that we see just the way the text is laid out again, and it's hard to tell, have I gone, okay, I'm into that folder, because on the left-hand side of the navigation panel, it should say, like, select home, so at the moment it says test, module 1, transcript 2. I want to have little subheadings, so it explains, like, courses, for example, so I know where I am in the file browser, essentially. So just make it a little bit simpler and clean it up and easier UX. And we'll get that going. Right, so what it's done now is I've just reorganised the UI a little bit to make it a little bit cleaner. So you can see here we've got all of the courses. I think this is a bit smarter. We'll change it, like if I go into dark mode, Still not sure if I'm a fan of the orange, but we've made it so it's a global variable, so we should be able to change it quite easily. So we'll come into here, and then we have obviously, it's a bit confusing. So these are obviously folders, are obviously courses, so I might change that, so it's folders / courses. These are the courses, and then obviously we're into the course here, and we can see it's selected, and then I think this is the correct layout for it. It seems to make sense, and then we can select the module. And then obviously when we come inside the module, we can see these lessons here. Now I'm just going to send this through because what I want to do is just basically improve this view. But you can see here it says indexed. Actually, we're going to stop this because we're going to say, because at the moment also each of these lessons at the end it says indexed, even though it's not. So just double check on the lesson cards that the indexing is pulling the correct data from the database as well. And I think we'll use the knowledge base indexing actions. Knowledge base indexing actions, knowledge base queries perhaps. Also we've got two, I don't know what the difference is. Knowledge base actions. We also seem to have knowledge base indexing actions, knowledge base actions. Presumably one is to manually index and the other one is just is something else, but just double check that that's correct. And then also when we come to here, it says enable semantic search, index this lesson to enable AI-powered semantic search. So it says transcript ready, not indexed, and then all of the chunks. So what I need to figure out here is these chunks. I don't know whether it's good to have it like this, so it's already done on the client side. I'm not sure. So when we're also inside the actual lesson view with the transcript, it's showing it as already chunked. I don't know whether that's because it chunks it on the client side and we want to keep it like that when it's actually scaled and we have customers using it, or if we want to show just the transcript and then the chunks. I want you to also redesign the UI for the chunks as well, because I want to aim to have a similar view to this screenshot here. So at the moment we have the search chunks area and then all of the chunks. Change those views to look like this screenshot, which is the 4th screenshot. Well, right, API key is added. It's come up with a nice new UI, which I think is nice. I'm curious what it has to say about the front end. Completely redesigned, index accuracy. Don't know if this client-side chunking is a good idea. It's obviously showing when I go into a lesson, it's showing all of the chunks, and I think it's because I don't think it's actually saved those chunks to the database. If it has, I'm not sure where it would have saved them. I don't know where the chunks are saved, presumably under video transcripts. So do we save the chunks anywhere? But they're not in the knowledge base embedding, so it's not been indexed. Do we want to have it like that, where it's doing it on the client side? I don't know. But let's just try this now. If we click on index, indexing lesson, okay, says it's indexed. If this works. Knowledge base embeddings. Let's refresh. Hey, look at that. So 1, 2, 3, 4 indexed. So 1, 2, 3, 4 chunks. Okay, so it's re-chunked them. So we're going to come to here and say, I then clicked the index button. The indexing worked, it chunked it, saved the vector embeddings into the database. Can we make sure that the chunking and the vector embeddings is done in parallel? And also, I don't know if it's done with an action or an API, but it would be kind of cool if it could do it in the back end rather than having to, like, as in it can do it, like if I close the app, for example. Can you double check if that's working? But obviously because it chunked, it sort of re-chunked it, so the client-side chunking we probably don't need, presumably. And then for this, we're going to put it on max mode. And actually, I'm just going to push this to GitHub. So we basically essentially got like a minimum viable product for this that you could, get a few users on that are testing it. And once we've got these chunks, it's very, very easy to build like AI models that can analyze it and do stuff with this data. So the chunking part was actually the hardest part. If we come along here, we should see the vector embeddings. Those were done pretty quickly and pretty easily. The next thing is just making sure it's obviously scalable, it's bug-free, works on everyone's computer, with hundreds of users. Yes, this is one thing which is going to happen, right? If somebody clicks index and then they move around in the app or they close the browser, then we don't want the chunking to stop working. I'd recommend removing it. We're getting rid of the client-side chunking, which we don't need. Shows fake index data, it's confusing. Let me simplify the lesson page call. So what we should see now, once it's done, is this shouldn't show any chunks. It should show it just needs to be indexed. Yeah, so here it says ready to index. So transcript's ready. We could probably add a tab in here that shows the transcript, but we'll do that later. What I'm trying to work out is, look, if I come into Course Builder and I try and build like 10 different courses, for example, it's a bit slow moving around as well. If I try and build 10 courses all at once and it's running them in the background, I want to make sure it can do all of them at once. So for example, if I'm in the course page and I create a course and I add a lesson, every time I add a lesson from the course page, it should also, which I've linked up above, it should also run the index. So it should chunk it and then index it into the vector database, and it should do that basically like queue them, or it should do them like build a queue and then run it in the background. So then if I add like 10, 15, 20 courses, I can come back in like 20 minutes, for example, and they're still going, or it'll be done in 20 minutes. Presumably we need an API for this. I want to make sure if we do that, we do the refactor correctly without breaking anything. And we'll just tag the knowledge base actions and the knowledge base indexing actions. If we do move it to an API, then it might be, I don't know whether we'll then still need to have the server action for it. If we do need to have a server action, maybe we only use a server action when we're actually inside the knowledge base and we just manually index, because it'll just take a couple of seconds, presumably, unless it's a massive file. And I want it to be parallel as well, so it'll do like 5 chunks at a time if possible, or 10 chunks at a time if possible. But equally, it needs to work if I have 100 users that are all uploading a course at the same time, so it needs to be quite scalable, this. I'm going to put this on, let's do Opus 4.6, max mode, and we'll send that through. And then once we've done all of this and it's working, we'll resync it with CodeSpring. This here is the PRDs are still here, but it's just a bug in the UI. We're fixing this at the moment. This is actually one thing which I probably should have done when I started planning this, is thinking about scalability and doing it as an API or some better back-end system, but I didn't. But it's fine. We'll see if we can work our way through it. I just don't like doing refactors like this. So at the moment it's doing it on server actions. So we're just going to check that this is a good system. So it's going to create a process queue, which is what I want. So essentially if we run like 10 jobs at the moment, what will basically happen is if it fails, then it'll just disappear, but it'll then hopefully queue it. Maximum duration 300, that's fine. We'll need to add this processing loop. Okay. Cron job may cause a problem, but we'll see if that works. That's fine. Solid. Let's build it. See what happens. I've already pushed the current changes to GitHub, so if anything goes wrong, we're fine. come back to CodeSpring. Let's say here, just quickly. So we've also created a new database entry here. Now I actually sent to CodeSpring to plan this out, but because we've also just gone ahead straight away and we've just planned it here, then what we'll do is we'll synchronize from here into CodeSpring. I just wasn't really thinking, and that way it will keep everything up to date. But basically what this means is essentially it will create jobs, and then if it fails, then we can see, and then we can retry it, for example. So if multiple people are running it at the same time, then it should hopefully make it more scalable. Okay, so a lot of today has just been waiting for the AI to code and update and make changes, but we've made quite a bit of progress. This is the foundation of the app. This is like a huge section to make it correct. We're just testing now and making sure that this new version is going to be working. We can actually collapse all of this, and we can see here it's now gone ahead and created a cron job and also a process queue, and then we're using these knowledge base lib files to basically create like a pipeline of stuff that needs to be done, and then the API will run through that queue, and hopefully we'll have a better result. So what I'll do is probably I'm going to end this here once this is done. If this doesn't work, I'm going to end this here for today. It says all 10 tasks are completed. Phew. Right, so we're going to come into here. We've done the indexing for module 1, lesson 1. So I'm going to come in. And I think I need to, this double click functionality is just, it's a bit annoying. Well, there we go. I think it's just slow because my computer is on literally no charge. But what we'll do is we'll test it. Ready to index. I want to fix this UI as well. There's loads of other things I can do. And then if it doesn't work, then we'll end it. If it does work, then we'll end it. And then next time we'll come in and we'll actually synchronize the changes into CodeSpring. So CodeSpring is aware of all the updates, and then we'll basically make this bulletproof and make sure it's really good and solid. So index now, indexing in progress, creating chunks and generating vector embeddings. Looks like it's worked. Let's come to here. Doesn't seem like there's any errors. We should now see, I think it's 4 more we created. Yeah, 4 more chunks should have appeared. Yep, and did the indexing jobs come in? Okay, so it didn't actually seem to add anything to the knowledge base indexing, so let's just come into here. It seems to have worked. I don't know whether we're still using the original server actions or if we're using the new queuing system, but nothing was created on the knowledge base indexing jobs table in the database. Did that not do it? Okay, so it seems to have worked, but looks like it did right here, post, so it used this endpoint here. So hopefully that's worked. And it's also, I think, secured it with an API key. So what we'll do actually at another point, because obviously you guys are seeing all the backend, we'll add security to all of these API keys as well. Cool. So it's created essentially 2 paths, which actually earlier I said is when I click on index now, it will take the quick path. So what we'll do here is we'll come into the course builder, we'll create a new lesson, and we'll just pick this one here, which is 5 minutes long, so there shouldn't be a huge transcript. We'll create a new lesson, and transcript 3, loom. And what we should see in the database is it should create a job, and here we've got 8 records, so hopefully we'll have more of those will turn up. Video transcripts, we should see 3 transcripts show up as well. So let's just come into here, click on add lesson, processing. This should then collect the transcript once the transcript's ready. And then also what we should probably do is say transcript ready, and then change these to say indexed as well at some point. So we're looking for video transcripts here. So there should be transcript ready. Okay, so there should be another one. Should appear in a second. And then if we come to the knowledge base, also here, I don't know if it's running in the background. It's all done that quite quickly. Okay, so it created the transcript there. Indexing jobs created the jobs. Status completed. Attempts 1, maximum attempts 3. Result. Looks like it worked. Knowledge base embeddings. Should have more than 8. So there's 11. Okay, so we come into here for transcript 3. Should have the chunks and have created everything for us. There we go, chunks indexed. All of those are done. Excellent. Right. So that's basically done. There's a few things we need to do next, but I will tackle those on day 4. For day 3, we have made a massive step forward. It's important to remember at these points, right, that this isn't done. Okay, yes, this is like the difficult part that's being coded, but equally we need to make sure that this is bulletproof, this works really well, it's fairly scalable. Lots of other bits and pieces, there's proper error handling. You know, if something goes wrong, there's an error shown in the front end. All of these sorts of things are things that I want to work on. But for now, I'm pretty happy with where things are with that. So don't forget, guys, if you would like to sign up to CodeSpring and design your first software using CodeSpring, you too could build an app like this. This is just day 3, and really only 2 days of development. And we've got knowledge base indexing and everything done already just by using the CodeSpring plan. So if you would like to grab that, then it is $350 for a year. The link is down below in the description, and you can grab yourself a premium plan, and when you buy the premium plan using the invite down below, you will get 50,000 credits. And don't forget, once you sign up, you can also come in and create invites for your friends. If you have friends or business owners or anybody else that you think would use CodeSpring, create an invite, create a video on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it all over the place, and if they sign up to a premium plan from your invite link, both you and them will each receive 50,000 credits, which is equivalent to basically 5 months worth of credits. On the Pro plan, you get 10,000 credits per month, and you can design any software that you want. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this series so far. I'm really looking forward to seeing where we take this, but I'll see you guys soon.